It's great to see you all. Tomorrow is Passover, as our friend in the UK pointed out. It is going to happen. Friday will be there, and it will be Passover. I always find Passover to be an interesting time of the year. It is, of course, a wonderful celebration that leads up into this resurrection celebration. That's good. So there's a lot of celebrating about resurrection life, which are things I think we could always celebrate a bit more, honestly. And then there's the part of it where it harkens back to that original Passover when God is judging the gods of Egypt. If you remember, like the original Passover story in Exodus, leading up to that moment where they're told to to put the blood of the lamb on the doorpost because the spirit of the Lord, the angel of the Lord is coming through, and of course all the firstborn are gonna kick the bucket. And so you put you put the blood of the lamb on the doorpost, and of course he passes by. But leading up to that moment, though, were all of those plagues. And if you read through those 10 plagues on Egypt, every single one of them is dealing with one of the Egyptian gods. Every one of those plagues was a direct response to like some part of nature that the Egyptians thought those gods personified or represented. Again, that's kind of how all of our ancestors thought. So when we get to this time of year and Passover, it's not uncommon. In fact, I would say it's highly common to feel like the gods of Egypt are getting judged in your own life. Like it's a strange sense this time of year. I'm not sure anybody really gets through it unscathed if you're really paying attention like to how these things work, in sort of God's calendar. But you get to this point and it's like, wow, it really feels like God's going after those idols or those false gods in my own life and in the lives of people around you. It's just a moment for that, not to be run from, not to be avoided, not to go, oh Lordy, like here comes the time, like Jesus is going to do some internal work. Yeah, maybe it takes the form of the Lord's exposing some things, or just bringing out false beliefs, all kinds of different things like that, or maybe just areas where you've struggled, that you've had a hard time getting over. This is the moment where it's like the Lord just comes and he's ready to judge the gods of Egypt. He's ready to throw down with all of those false things in our life that just kind of hold us back. So I typically find Passover, just repeating for those of you who have just jumped in, I typically find Passover to be this kind of dual expression between woohoo, resurrection time, like resurrection of Jesus, he's risen. And everyone goes, he's risen indeed. No, that great moment of the faith calendar where you actually get to celebrate that it's awesome. And it's for real. Like it's going great, He rose from the dead. He's the name above all names. Like there's that. And then at the same time, you feel like this war, like these literal plagues are coming down from heaven, and all the little gods of Egypt in your own life are like, save us from the wrath of the Lamb, It's like this dual celebration that's going on all at the same time. And I think it's beautiful. I really do. And I think it's worth tapping into, which if you haven't realized, that's at least part of what we're going to do tonight. Part of what we're after tonight is I want to give the Lord a really good chance to tackle the things in our life that need a good tackling, like a good come out of the 3-point stance and just let them have it kind of tackle, It's a moment to seize that kind of energy that's in heaven right now. I want to tell you, there's a couple of things that I've noticed lately, and I think it's worth us bringing up. We're not going to talk a lot. I'm going to maybe go for like 10 minutes here, then I want to jump in. I've noticed a lot, and this is more locally, but I think it's true in a broader sense. I feel like marriages are under attack right now. And in particular, I feel like women are under attack. And so I've noticed something kind of in my own just sort of personal circle Melissa and I have had a chance. We've done a little counseling with some people, but it was more than what would normally be there. And I started to sense, like, I think that there's some kind of calculated assault right now on marriages. Now, if that's just my little local area of Florida where I'm seeing that, okay, that's all right. Sometimes that can happen. I mean, we're not unopposed in this world. So sometimes there is like a strategy about something. But maybe you've noticed it too. Maybe you've noticed that there are relationships around you that are kind of misfiring at this moment. I was talking to a friend who said, some of this could be like the kind of the long-term psychological effects of COVID, like those 2 years of craziness, especially if people were kind of locked in together more than they normally are. And it's like now the problems have just come to the surface. And like if you weren't dealing with it during the whole COVID fiasco, when maybe you were stuck in your house, or doing something like that, maybe you're having to deal with it now, and that could totally be, or there could just be a spiritual component to this. But I've noticed that there's one of the recurring themes when I've watched what's going on with some of these relationships that are having trouble is that the attack seems very focused on the lady, on the woman in the relationship, on the wife in the relationship. The attack seems directed at her, like she's getting hit harder and consequently being bombarded with more lies than even the male in that relationship is. That seems calculated to me. So I think there's something that we should do. And if it's just me, I mean, thanks, Judith. You're like, nope, it's for real. It's in Connecticut too, But if it's just me, if you're like, actually, Christopher, it's been about on, par for the course around here, I would be happy to hear that. If it's just Florida and Connecticut, it's still probably worth talking to the Lord about. So maybe at some point tonight, we can do that as well. We can find out if something like that is going on, what can be done about it. So that's one thing, or number two. Number one was let's really receive the Passover blessing. When we do stuff like this, there are times when we get together and our mission is something simple like we're going to go see Jesus in a new place. And we do that because we all know that like getting close to Jesus, it's like half the time you're just vibing with him. It's just being near the risen Lord. The other half of the time, it's like he's teaching us, So sometimes we get together on a Thursday night in our heaven community and we just go somewhere in the heavens. We spend time with the Lord. And sometimes, and we've done this in the past, we tackle something. Like we take an issue that is going on and we do something about it. We've done that with some COVID cases last year, different things. Someone asked me not too long ago, essentially, the question wasn't phrased quite this way, but this is what they were getting at. Essentially, should I worry if like there's a war in Ukraine going on and like bombs are falling and like killing innocent people, but like I'm in my heaven time or we're on a Thursday night or something, and it's like we're not even aware of it. Like Jesus isn't bringing it up. We're not bringing it up. We're just like having a grand time sitting at the table with him or something like that. And the question really was more or less, is that okay? Or are we doing something wrong? Like, are we not hearing the Lord? Because it seems like the Lord would be like, hello, like there's bombs dropping on innocent people in Ukraine. Do y'all want to like open your eyes and do something about this in the heavens? And I was like, I get it. I get the question. It's a really good question. In general, I would say, and I remember talking to a group about this one time. I when we were talking about Ukraine, I said, how is it that that there's like a war in Ukraine and these atrocities are being committed? And they were like, well, because it was on the news. I was like, right. I was like, now, why doesn't anyone know that the same week that like Russia was going crazy in Ukraine, like Saudi Arabia was bombing civilian populations in Yemen at pretty much the same rate and killing a bunch of people? Why don't we know that? And the answer is because it's not on the news, So like one takeaway from that is, Jesus is seeing this whole perspective. Oftentimes what's on any news channel, it's not like Jesus is watching that. It's not like Jesus is like clicking on the news. He's like, okay, what am I supposed to care about today? Oh, there's a war in Ukraine. Like Jesus is seeing the whole thing. He's seeing the tragedy in Yemen, and he's seeing the tragedy in Ukraine, and he's seeing what goes on in places where there's just, abject poverty, and places where there's, struggles of all different kinds. And to him, like from this perspective of high up, it is all tragic. Like it's all a need to intercede. So my answer to that person was kind of in part, yeah, don't sweat it. If Jesus doesn't bring it up, don't sweat it, because it's not just because it's in the news doesn't necessarily mean that that's the thing that was like overarchingly on his heart, because every single time you go interact with the Lord, he could tell you something like that. Every single time. There's some part of the world, there's some group of people that are in drastic need of corporate intercession. Now, this is not me diminishing what's going on in Ukraine or Yemen or any other place. And I think y'all are hearing me for what I'm actually saying, that the issue here is an issue of just kind of connecting with the Lord, knowing that these things are going on. So there's a good chunk of the time where there is going to be crazy things happening in the world, and your time in the heavens with the Lord seems totally non-affected by it. Like, he knows that stuff's going on, but what he also knows is he wants you to be transformed. And he knows for you to be transformed, you've got to be close to him and get to know him even more. So there are going to be times when the Lord brings it up, but you should never feel bad if it doesn't, simply because there's always something going on. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go up and like go surfing on a wave with Jesus, or whatever it is that you do when you're hanging out. You're like, I never knew it could be this good. If we lose the perspective of how good things can be with the Lord, that's oftentimes when we will lose our effectiveness in our intercession, when we stop approaching this crazy world from that place of, yeah, but I've seen it when it's amazing. If we stop making the time to see it when it's amazing, then how do you have a perspective to even deal with it when it does come up? If you stop taking that time to play, you stop taking that time to rest, I think you get my point here. Don't feel bad about it. Now, I'm not saying don't bring it up if you want to, but don't feel bad about it if it didn't come up during that time. Here's the overarching point I'm trying to make before we jump up into the heavens here. It's a bit of a balance, kind of knowing how much of our heaven community time, both personally and as a group, how much of it should be spent, causing something to change here, like bringing something down from the heavens to the earth, versus how much time should be spent, just focused on the things that are up there, regardless of how they could filter down and affect things here. And it is a bit of a delicate balance. I've kind of seen the error in both ways. I probably lean to, let's just go up in the heavens and see what it's like there. It'll filter down when it needs to. I probably lean on that side, but I'm sure I can always readjust, But for a really long time, you have to think about the few the few folks throughout history, and I know it's probably been millions or billions, but it doesn't seem like a lot. The few folks throughout history that have really focused on eternal things, especially in the last couple hundred years, most of the time, that eternal focus is really being driven by, because I want things to change, like on this earth. It's being driven by, how can I affect this with what I'm doing here? As if, in a way, that heavenly realm or access to it is a tool. And the goal is to be able to use that tool to somehow get that stuff to come down here and change our states, change our situation. What I'm trying to say here is that a lot of people think of whatever interaction with the eternal things that they do have, it's all being focused in that one direction of, I just want my situation here to improve. I just want the things that I pray about here to change. It's like we're approaching it in order to get something to bring down here. Now, I mean, again, there's a valid point to do that. Of course, the other side of the coin is you're interested in what's going on in the heavens, not as a means to an end, but as an end in and of itself. You're interested in what's going on in the heavens because it's simply worth knowing. It's simply worth exploring. It's simply worth getting familiar with. After all, Paul said, your citizenship is in heaven. So I think it's appropriate to know the place in which I'm holding a passport for, which is, I guess, like a sign of citizenship in this case. So you would go to know it simply because you would go to know the eternal things, regardless of how they came down and changed stuff here. So it is a case, especially historically, especially in the last couple hundred years, and really, really true in the last 50 or so. Any activity in the heavens was all about, how can I get that to change my stuff here? Very, very little of it was, let me go up into the heavens simply to know the heavens. Now, one of these is not right and the other is wrong. So don't think that's where we're going. One of them's not good, the other's bad. What I'm sort of saying is, we just have to balance that out. Like, there's got to be a really healthy balance of, sometimes I go up just because it's worth going up into the up here to get to know another world that I will one day inherit, to get to know another me that will one day be resurrected, this kind of super identity that I'll put on, to get to know what life is like after this mortal sojourn is over. Now, of course, the side effect is that tends to change things here, whether you like it or not, but you're not going for that reason per se. And then, yes, absolutely, let's balance that out with, listen, I'm going up in the spirit into the heavens, but I'm going so that I can change this, like that determination, that sense of like purpose to work on this mortal realm. Well, tonight's really is an example of the second one here. Tonight really is a time for us to go up and let's see what we can change. Let's see what we can do, not just in our own lives, which is where we'll start, but eventually let's see what we can do in a larger sense. How we can maybe tackle some of the issues that are going on. Are you with me? Are you up for that? Good. I mean, your mics are off, so a nod is really great. It's kind of all I need. Like, yeah, I'm ready. Actually, I don't know how I would interpret this. Are you mad? What's going on? No, the nod's really good. Let's pause for a tea. There's the telescope back there, a little silhouette of it in the stars. It's at home with this background back here. Total side note here. I did get to take the telescope to the event we just did in Ocala last weekend. Had a lovely time looking at the moon. So whenever I can drive to a place and the weather looks good, I'm going to take the telescope with me. The forecast for the evening was cloud cover at 30 to 36%. That's not actually good. 36% cloud cover is not great. But it was looking so good in the afternoon leading up to it that I took the telescope anyway. And as I'm driving to Ocala, it's like a 45-minute drive, right around 5 o'clock or something. Few clouds moving in. And so I start talking to the spiritual being that personifies the weather that I know. And because I knew the object of study for that night would be the moon, I said, okay, I talked to the moon as well. I said, now the cloud cover forecast is 35, 36%. And I felt the moon talk to me. And she said, Christopher, look out right now. And I looked out. And it was doable. The sky at 5 o'clock was like, I can handle this. Clouds are moving pretty quick. We could peek in between them. And what's there is pretty thin and pretty small. And she said, it will be at least this good, but probably better. And sure enough, we got 2 hours out there of not one cloud in the sky at all. And it is it's one of my, I'm just having a moment talking to you like you're my friends. So just hang in there. We are going to go to heaven. It's one of my favorite parts about my job is setting up the telescope for people. It's the easiest thing I do is the manual labor of hauling this thing around and setting it up. And it is it's 125 pounds assembled. So it counts as a workout, And so I get the whole thing up and I set it all up. And I just stand back and people come to the eyepiece, and every time they just go like that. Like that's what everyone does. It's just this kind of gasp. And I get accused of the same thing every time. Did you just put a sticker on the end of this thing? Like, is that real? How is that real? You know, it's always the response. And I always feel like, you know, whatever price I paid for being a nerd growing up, it's like now I'm reaping the rewards, you know, because now I feel like $1 million, you know, because I get to share this stuff with people. It really is such a treasure, such a treasure. Some of you were there. Cindy, you said it was so awesome. Ellen, hey, David and Ellen, you said we were there. Oh, I got to let someone in the room. Someone remind me to check that from time to time. We were there. We got to see mountain ranges on the moon. Yeah, and someone, either you or David, Ellen, one of you gasped. Yeah. So it does look like a cannon. When it's fully assembled, it looks like we have assembled like a giant mortar launcher, like, you know, in a field. So really is a really blessed time. I hope to do it more this year. If I can drive, we're going to do it. Speaking of which, this might as well, let's do this before we get into the heavens. If you didn't know, event at the end of this month in Peoria, Illinois, with Nancy and Shannon and Yana and Darla and Dr. Pamela Gate and Laura C. and Miles Anderson. Everybody's it's a big event in Peoria, Illinois. They're live streaming it. If you can't be there in person, look at my website, look at Nancy's website. Doesn't matter where you go if you want to register to be there in person or live stream. Then later that month, which I believe is the weekend of May 19th, 20th. I really hope I'm right about that. I will be in Moravian Falls. If you can come hang out with me in Moravian Falls, do it. It's that weekend. It's, again, I think it's May 19, 20. Look at my website or my Facebook page, or look at Mary Haas's Facebook page. Mary Haas will be there. My friend John Graham will be there. John does heaven trips with people. Mary will teach. I'll do some teaching. We all go to heaven. I'm really looking forward to it. That group, we've been doing this stuff in Moravian Falls for like, I don't know, it seems like at least 4 years. It seems like 4 years of doing like twice a year. And Mary Haas has become a bigger part of that every year, which has been such a blessing. Okay, you're saying the 19th and 20th looks like Thursday and Friday. It must be the 21st, like Friday the 20th, and then into like the 21st. I think we finish up on the 22nd there. So that's in Moravian Falls. If you can be there, come hang out with us. It normally gets pretty deep in that it's normally a group of people that they've been around for a while. So we kind of like spiral our way into new things. And then if you can't be there, that one's live streamed as well. Those are the next two. And then after that, it's Tulsa. That's Oklahoma. Tulsa's in Oklahoma. I know my geography. Tulsa, Oklahoma, there with Nancy and Shannon and Timothy Bentz. That'll be a blast as well. Anyway, those are events that are coming up. We're going to have a Heaven Community Time. I think, no, not next Thursday. We're going to have an office hours, not this Sunday because it's Easter Sunday, but the Sunday after. So it'll be a little bit more than a week before our next meeting. That was all those announcements. We don't have to do those at the end now. Okay. Are you ready? Let's do some stuff. Let's do some Passover focus things tonight in the heavens. Y'all get out your journals. Get out something to write on. I want you to be able to take good notes tonight. I'm excited. I tell you, before we ever do these things, I'm always like up here in the office in the spirit on my own. I did not want to leave to start this recording. It's not a joke. Like I was so enjoying this moment with the Lord, stepping into this Passover, this first of the year. You know, like again, this is the time where it's really the beginning of God's new year, and it was so great. I was really hesitant to pull away to fiddle with this computer for a minute. So get your notebook out. Give you a minute to pull up some music if you like that sort of thing. You know that I'm a huge fan of relaxedmoods.com. I like the album Dark. The other one I've really enjoyed, I believe there's one called Organic. I've really been enjoying Organic. That one you can just start from the beginning. It's pretty good right out of the gate. If you like that, you want to put on some Laura C, or you like John Carter or the Riveras, whatever you prefer. You can get your music, go ahead and get it started, get it playing. kind of low in the background there. You got your journal out. We're going to open the eyes of our heart. And all we're going to do to begin is, I want you to imagine what it would be like right now to be at a table celebrating the Passover with our risen Lord. Your table, I'm not going to give you direction on this one. I really want this to be close to you. I want this to be your table with the Lord. So wherever that is and however you imagine it, and do trust your imagination. Don't overthink this. Whatever kind of table you think you'd be at. If you're like, Christopher, I've got nothing, great. Imagine yourself on my ship, on the deck of the ship. That's where my table is tonight. You're welcome to join me. Otherwise, where do you find yourself sitting at a table with the risen Lord, like you're going to celebrate this feast? Now, if you want to use your chat box here, of course, do that. It's your way to get it out. Bring it into the light. Don't keep the stuff in and try not to overthink it. But give me just a highlight of a description in the chat box. What are you seeing? What's that table like? What's the Lord look like to you right now? You can even throw in some senses about what you smell and what you hear and what you can touch. Y'all have done this with me a lot, so you kind of know to run through your senses to really let yourself consciously be there. Well, go ahead and see yourself sitting down or if you're sitting down, that's how I saw myself. I was just sitting down at the table. Just take a minute to breathe in the environment. Y'all remember how we practiced that? Breathe in the air of that place that you're seeing with the eyes of your heart. And as you do it, just even breathe in here. And it's not like some kind of, I don't even know what Kundalini yoga is, but it's not that. I believe I've never done yoga in my life. But, just, so I don't know what those kind of breathe, if that's even a breathing exercise that they do. That's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking just breathe in here so that your body is in sync with what you see yourself doing there. So like see yourself in your imagination, breathe in this environment, however you imagine being at a table with the Lord is, using the eyes of your heart and being there with the risen Lord. And if you don't see Jesus, you go, Lord, where are you in this picture? And it could be any part of the Godhead, but ask that question if you didn't immediately pop in there with the Lord. Lord, where are you in this picture? Let yourself be in that environment. Share as much as you can with me on the chat box, what you're seeing, where you are. Again, what I see is I'm on the deck of my ship, and it's like on the back part of the deck. That's where the Lord's laid out this table. And I see the Father there, and I see the table like laden with food. It doesn't look like a Passover Seder per se. It just looks like it's heaped with food, and it's like we're sitting down at this table like family. There's other folks there as well. It's not just me and the Father. Do sense the presence of Jesus there, though. Betty, you said you can smell the wine and the fresh bread. I haven't even got to my smells yet. I was just kind of taking in the scene, and I was feeling what feels like the wood of the table, like the grain of the wood. Make sure to talk to yourself. Say out loud what you're experiencing. Cindy, you said you're at a small table in heaven with Jesus, white linen, silver, crystal, flowers on the table. You're sitting full grown on Jesus's lap. You have a crown of orange blossoms on your head that smells so good. That's a neat detail, a crown of orange blossoms on your head. You're feeling loved and cared for. Great job, Cindy. Great use of your senses. Great presence, letting yourself be there. Good job not overthinking it. David, you're in your garden by your home, sitting at the table with Jesus, the Father, and several men in white, including John and the apostle, and John the apostle and David. Or maybe that's Paul. Sorry, John, Paul, and David. Violins playing for you, Betty. Durrett, you see him with you at the table. It's kind of rough wood, really beautiful, with a white tablecloth and silver tableware, and he's there in a white robe, and you clearly see the nail holes in his hands. Great. Ruth, you said we're in a cabin, but suspended in space. It's a little unnerving. Yeah, just stay close to him. That's the best advice in an unnerving environment. Stay close to Jesus in that one. Debbie, you're out in the middle of a field. The table is out there. It's pretty, isn't it? Table out in the middle of a field. I bet there's like wildflowers or something. The table is out there, and Jesus is coming out of the woods toward the table. He's wearing a white robe and he's glowing. You guys are doing fantastic. Again, you're doing good. Don't overthink it. Talk to yourself. What do you imagine it would be like to sit down at a table with the Lord, about to celebrate this feast? Your imagination knows, so just let it tell you the story. Not going to rush it. Just give you a few more moments here. If you want to share it in the chat box, feel free. Betty, you said, I feel so excited to be able to watch him and listen to his voice. Very good. David, you said there's wine and a crystal decanter and crystal goblets to drink from. I get that too. The crystalline, whatever it's called. Got, the plates and the cups. Duretti said, I have so desired to eat this Passover with you. Very good, y'all. Caden, you see a stone circle encircled by trees with a stone table in the center, and there's also a water feature that flows around the stone circle and flows off of the cliffside. Good. Jennifer, you said at a table on a spaceship with Jesus. Why not? Overlooking the cosmos. Jesus is sitting with me, and I have a glass of wine in my hand. Very good. You guys are doing great. Just again, what would you imagine it would be like to sit down at a table with him? What's he look like? Your first impressions, don't overthink it. I was watching the Father just stand up from the table and raise his glass like he's going to give a toast, like to kind of start the proceedings. And I felt the Lord there just saying that, like, are you ready? Like, we're going to do some stuff. Like, are you ready? Renee, you said you're out in the meadow with the smell of dew on the grass. Jesus is walking towards us as we sit. He has a bowl of water from a waterfall and a cloth dripped on his arm. He comes to us and he's going to wash our feet. Beautiful. Yeah, David, Holy Mother, Holy Spirit hovering over and singing. Yeah, it's good. Durrett, you kind of see the dishes of the Passover Seder. Now, y'all remember from the beginning when we started talking tonight, there's two beautiful things that go on at Passover. Celebration of the resurrection. And it's also a moment when the Lord will judge the gods of Egypt. I don't think people get through this time, if they're paying attention, I don't think they get through this time unscathed, in the sense that there's something the Lord's ready to scrub off of us. There's something that the Lord's like, I have put up with this false thing long enough, and I am ready to deal with it tonight. And I know that y'all know this. If you've been going to the heavens for more than 10 seconds, your own issues eventually come up. Like it's God's desire to refine and make us more like the Lord. So if you want to, I'm never going to present this to you as a have to. This is not the only thing God is talking about tonight. But if you want to tonight, be close to the Lord. If you're not close, you know how to do it. Lord, would you come close to me, or shall I come close to you? And all I want you to do is take a moment, if you want to, and just go, Lord, I'm ready for you to judge these fallen things in my own life. What do you want to tackle? And don't feel like it's going to be like he's going to make you repent. You're going to cry. Now, maybe that happens, but think of it like you and him are going to tackle it together. So maybe give him the space tonight. Lord, what do you want to tackle in my life in this moment? This is your chance, Lord, to just throw the judgments on the gods of Egypt so that you can deliver me like you delivered your people. Take a moment. I'm going to mute my mic, which was way over here. Forgot to bring that close. I'm going to mute my mic. Y'all take some time to do it. If someone pops in, I'll repeat the question. Otherwise, Lord, you just give them the space. I know this is a time of year for that. So, Lord, what do you want us to tackle tonight? What's going on in my life? What's in me that you want to reform to be like you? How do you want to bring me deliverance in this season? And about what do you want to bring me deliverance? Tap into that just cosmic moment in time when God's ready to do these kinds of things. I'm going to check back in with you in a few minutes. If you want to put it in the chat box, feel free. If it's too personal, I understand. I'm not going to worry about it if you guys are quiet tonight. Do your thing, okay? And I'll jump back in a few minutes. Again, if you just dropped in, we're just having a moment with Jesus at the Passover table, asking him if there's anything that he wants to bring out in our lives that he wants to bring us deliverance from. If you're just jumping in, that's what we're doing for a few minutes here. Make sure to talk to yourselves. Don't keep it all in. Bring it in the light. Even if it's too personal, you don't want to put it in the chat box. Again, totally understand. Bring it in the light. Say it out loud in your room. Write it in your journal. Don't let it go unsaid. Don't let it stay inside. Again, it's not like this doesn't have to be massive confession time. It could just be God's ready to tackle stuff with you, and it's going to be awesome. But get that in the light, get that out where it can do something. Give you a few more minutes here. I'll read some of your comments, and we're going to do a few more things too, and maybe share some testimonies at the end. But y'all keep going. A few more minutes. Enjoy the time with the Lord. Talk out loud. As you're doing with this, the Lord, I was just reading your comments here, Betty, but He's helping you to remove fear of failure and the fear of making a mistake. Loved what you said here too, that today you helped friends to bring a large table from Meredith to Moravian Falls with 8 chairs. You said it felt that it was like bringing the Passover table, so the timing's perfect. Love it. And then I read, helping to remove the fear of failure and fear of making a mistake. When something comes up like that, one of the easiest things you can do when you're just in the Spirit talking to the Lord, that is an opportunity to believe. So sometimes you just need to say, I believe you, God. You just say it out loud. I believe you that you can remove fear of failure and fear of making a mistake. I'm choosing to come into alignment with who you say I am and what you say right now. Sometimes just saying it out, again, bring it into the light. Bring your agreement with what God is saying into the light. Don't let it go unsaid. Bring that agreement in. Just gonna scroll up here for a minute. Yeah, some of these are setting free from guilt and shame and condemnation and addiction to sugar and attachment to eating too much food. Listen, if you're in America, you get that. Everybody should get that if you live in this country. We're with you. Sense of unworthiness. Yeah, Caroline, taking you to deeper levels of trust. Susan, you said, Lord, stitching up a wound in my heart while it was still in my chest. His motion was very gentle and natural, and he was talking softly the whole time. Now, you guys ready for another one? You're doing this inside. Now do it out. Lord, what's around me? Now listen, you are in Christ. So there's going to be moments where the authority and the power of Christ is ready to come down into this mortal sojourn and unleash God's justice and judgments on things that are going on. Why not just participate for a minute with that? Lord, what's around me? What's around me? It doesn't have to be big. Again, maybe don't pick world hunger or the war in Ukraine that involves many millions of other people. How about immediate surroundings? What's around you that just needs to be judged so that deliverance and freedom can come? Take just a few minutes. Again, we don't have to go real long on this one, but just take a few minutes. Lord, what's around me in my mortal life right now that needs deliverance? And then participate with the Lord in that. See what the Lord has to say. Don't overthink it. Trust those first impressions about what the Lord is bringing up and how the Lord wants to release that deliverance. Just take a moment. Let's do that. Just occurred to me, like, for the last week, since last Thursday night, we had a little meeting here at the house, and since last Thursday night, I've been seeing Jesus in full armor, like big plate armor. And I didn't put it together until tonight that even last week, like, he was preparing for battle, like he's preparing for this Passover moment of defeating the false gods and defeating death. And it's like he must celebrate this at this time of year, like he was ready to go to battle. It was really cool. Yeah, very good, y'all. It's fine for you to throw it in the chat box. It's fine for you to say out there or in your journal or just out loud. Just respond to it. Have an opportunity to believe. Yeah. I don't want to rush you, but I want to do one more of these like focuses that I mentioned earlier, is that I'm just seeing a rash of broken relationships, just an inordinate, that's not a word, inordinate, I can't say it tonight, more than usual amount of relationships that are in trouble and that are just breaking, and especially with the women in the relationships. So if you know someone, or if that's you, or if it's happening around you and you're aware of it, let's take a moment to do that too. And if you're not done doing what you're doing, that's okay. Keep doing what you're doing. I saw that, Otto and Hannah. You saw Jesus dressed as a sheriff in an old Western town? Yeah, for real. It's like he's ready. It's a showdown at the OK Corral tonight, my friends, So just take a moment. If you know of some of these issues where relationships are breaking, let's tackle that with the Lord. Just bring it up and see what the Lord has to say. And then when the Lord talks about it, agree. Just come into agreement. And if God wants to even do something about it tonight, the Lord can. So just one more thing to throw on the plate. Take your time to do this. And then we'll share some testimonies together before we're done tonight. Again, I'm going to turn my mic off. Keep doing what you're doing. Doing great. I'm sure of it. It's a great night just to tackle some things with the Lord. In just a minute, I want to give like a handful of you, or as many as we can, an opportunity to, if you want to share anything about tonight, like what you saw and what it meant to you, that would be great. I want to tell you, just because I think maybe this can even be a teachable moment in itself, that I spent that whole time at a table on the deck of my ship in the heavens. And when I sat down at the table, it was festive and it was delightful. And I was asking those questions, and the Lord was saying some things. But the feeling was that we're celebrating the victory even before it's happened. Like, we're sitting at this table and it's festive and it's like a victory feast. Even before, like, we were bringing up the issues, it was like we're already celebrating that we've won, And so it was like very unstressed and again, just festive. And I said, Lord, okay, so what is it? What's one thing you just want to judge and bring deliverance from and to? And I just felt like the Lord said, and some of you that have been on this journey with me, especially over the last few years, these last couple in particular have been really instrumental in my life. And there's been some, after 12 years of doing this, I feel like we're hitting some moments where to take the next steps, it's like I have to really commit. I have to really commit. I have to really be like, yeah, Jesus, I believe you. And so tonight, the Lord said, Christopher, I want to take away the doubt that says you can't be what you see when you're up here. I want to remove that doubt from you. And he said, and I want to take away the feeling that you're going to be disappointed with me and the journey that I take you on. He said, you've not been disappointed this whole time. And I was like, no, I haven't. He said, which is not the same thing as saying you won't have challenges. And I was like, right, I got it. Welcome to the kingdom. You're going to have challenges. He said, but you're not going to be disappointed. And so I stepped into agreement with that. But what I think is coming in the coming days, and this is normal for me, it doesn't have to be for you. This adventure is not over. Like, I'm on my ship and we're going somewhere and we're on assignment. There's some battle coming. I think that's why Jesus has been fully armored. I think that's why he was armoring me up today. That's normally a sign that we're going to do something in the spirit. We will actually, it's like, I guess it's my current form of spiritual warfare when I'm up there and I'm actually participating in the fight, which is exhilarating as a man. I'm not going to lie. But I haven't done it in years. I really haven't done it in years. But I feel like that's where this is going. My point is, you may not wrap all this up tonight. It may not be wrapped up with a bow. Okay, you got it done. Maybe you find yourself back at this table again later tonight or tomorrow or throughout the Passover week. And you find that you keep going in this story, that God has more story to tell at this table scene, wherever you are. So don't necessarily wrap it up with a bow and kind of be done with it. Let it continue on. Let there be a continual story. Maybe just commit. I'm going to come back to this table for a few days and just see what's going on with these things that we brought out tonight. Okay. It's 8:57 and I kind of want to hear from you before we close. So let me go to the grid. If you don't, I'm going to change the view. So on the recording, it'll be changed too. And it was like this at the beginning a little bit too. If you don't want to be immortalized on YouTube, this would be a good time to shut your video off if you're like in your PJs or something. Or if you're like, no, these are my good PJs, I'm fine with it. Okay, if you're fine, I'm fine. I'm just telling you, I'm going to the gallery. So your face is now immortalized on YouTube. So you're still here. That's good. Yes, Otto and Hannah, Psalm 23, the table set in the presence of my enemies, like we're celebrating the victory ahead of time. Let me make it to where you can unmute yourselves. Do you guys want to like raise your hand either on Zoom so I know to call on you? I think some of you probably have a story to tell tonight. And I think it would, again, bringing it into the light and letting other folks hear it too so that they can participate with you in it. Sometimes you have no idea how much that blesses another person. Give me a moment when I've got to figure out how to do this again. Allow participants to unmute themselves. So you've got the freedom now, everybody. Look out. Okay, you got a hand up or just unmute yourself. You have the ability to do that now. Jump in. I see your hand, Dorette. Jump in. If no one beats you to it, the floor is yours.
Okay, good. I just had to figure out how to unmute myself on this device, but one sec. I was just turn off the music for a moment. Good.
Sure.
The Lord went through a bunch of things, but the one that I want to share is towards the end. So earlier on, the Lord had showed me how he went to battle for my brother, who's right now really, I mean, humanly speaking, we are hardly even able to connect with him because of his health. And yes. So, but I saw how Jesus was going to battle for him and dealing with both spiritual and natural forces and whatever was going on. And so, of course, I was very grateful to see that. But then towards the end, I saw my brother actually coming to the table, but I noticed how he was very hesitant to take any food. He was almost like, "Am I allowed to take something from this table?" Right. And I mean, it makes me cry when I see this. And then I saw Jesus just wrapping his arm around my brother and taking him in his arms and just showing him love and starting to just, first of all, bring healing to his body, where I saw him bringing healing oil and giving him new clothes and letting him know that he is fully welcomed and honored at this table. And so that means so much.
Thanks for sharing that, Dorette. Y'all, if you have a spare moment, over these next days, remember Dorette's brother.
Thank you.
Just big time, just a real medical need, for healing in his body, and for him to really understand how loved he is. There's the flesh, and then there's the all important, inner thing there that he is this precious son, that the Lord wants to convince of God's goodness. So if y'all have a moment, remember Dorette's brother. He's in need right now. Like this is his moment where he really needs a touch. Yeah. Anything else you need to add to that, Dorette?
No, I think I just want to say how for myself, the Lord just brought some things up that there was kind of things where I in the past had been hurt, but I always was just like, "Oh, I forgive, don't worry." And where he was like, "No, I want to. Can I come into that sensitive spot in your heart?" Yeah. And just simply saying, "Hey, can I pour my blood here?" And say, "Yes, thank you."
Wonderful. Very good, very good. Someone want to jump in here? Anything that you want to tell us about tonight? It can be like something like Dorette said, maybe it went a totally different direction for you, but it'd be a great night to hear some of your stories. Glad you could join us, Inju. I see that you have to run, but I'm glad you're here tonight. Anybody else? Either raise your hand or just, unmute yourself, click the button on your own. Sometimes I can't see you all on the grid, so I don't know if you're waving at me or not. Sometimes you just got to do it. It's that easier to ask for forgiveness than permission rule. All right, going once, twice. Caden, is that you? Is that a hand? Go for it. Unmute thyself and jump in here.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to share what he told me about what he wanted to deliver me from real quick. He told me that he wanted to deliver me from the feeling that I couldn't think deeply. Like, there's sometimes where in life, things just feel so fast-paced.
Yeah.
And you just gotta think quickly. And if you get a good thought, that's good. But he wanted to set me free from that feeling that my thoughts were bound to only think at a surface level, and then I couldn't think deeply. I did. It would only be in like quiet prayer time that I could take time to think deeply about things. And the way that he kind of gave me a example, because usually when I'm in the heavens, I kind of just get the picture and details later, like those usually come later. But he asked me to count the trees surrounding the encirclement, and there were 8. I'm not sure if that's significant or anything, but
yeah,
there were 8.
It's definitely significant. Yeah, keep going.
So he told me, like, you can take time to do stuff like that, like take in the details. And yeah, that's it.
Caden, it's really profound. I'm going to tell you on a number of different levels. Well, let's start with 8, new beginnings. Biblical number 8, new beginnings, which is perfect because this is the start of a new year. Like, this is God's new year beginning, is this month, when Passover occurs. Technically, it would have been right about just under 2 weeks ago at the new moon. Like, that would have started that month. So that's something.
Oh, that's awesome.
But to be in the Spirit, Caden, and to be able to do something like that, like count the trees that were around you in that circle, like that one move, I'm telling you, it's not unlike, well, I'm trying to, let me think of a way to encapsulate what I'm trying to say here. When you can stop to do that, then you're really allowing yourself to be there. And that sense of reality that you're designed to work in comes in, and you're like, I'm in a real place, and like in real time, that has rules, even though they're better rules, that does have rules. There are distinctly 8 trees. It's like, that's like a step into, who knows, one day you're there's a book that you pull off the shelf that how many pages it has when you're in the Spirit, and it makes something like reading a book like that easier, or it makes there's so many things that I think that just that process that you went through tonight can take your experiences in heaven to the next level. Really great job. Wait, I really think you heard him. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, Caden. I think you really heard the voice well, and responded to it really well. Good job. Yeah, very good. Anybody else? Are you motivated now by Caden's story? Got anything else to throw in here?
I'll jump in.
Oh, great to hear from you, Otto and Hannah.
So I'm drawing the whole time that you're talking.
Yeah.
My creative juices come out, and the bottom line, it turned out to be a very, I don't know if you can see it.
No, you can.
Oh yeah, we can. Kind of.
Anyhow, it's a very colorful tree, very fruitful tree with 2 tables under it.
Beautiful.
So we're having our communion or our fellowship at 2 tables.
Yeah.
And so it's 2 places. And also when Yeshua showed up, he was shooing away the flies.
Yeah.
Which is a very Filipino thing to do.
Right. Right.
But it's also kind of like, this is the extent of our enemy, or just like flies.
Totally.
Just can bother a little bit. But there's this mystery of under this tree, and the essential idea is life and truth is in the tree, but 2 tables is kind of a mystery to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Otto, you're just going to have to go back, right? I mean, you're just going to have to keep going for the next, again, let it play out and let it be this continual story for Passover week, and see if it takes you, and report back the next time we're together and tell us what in the world the 2 tables were for. I'd be interested to know. I'm sure it's going to be a good story.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? I see an unmuted mic. Yeah.
Ooh, hi. So I guess I'll share the story of what I saw the Lord wanted to deliver me from.
Yes.
Because it was a little bit surprising. So I've actually been talking about this every once in a while, and even today I had brought it up, like this sense of unworthiness that I have sometimes about the Lord. But I know that He chose us, which ultimately makes us worthy, but I still just kind of have these mixed feelings about it. And He told me, I want to get rid of unworthiness, like I want to get rid of that thing. Like he was really kind of excited about it, and I was like, whoa, like it's something he's been wanting to do for a while. And when I pictured it, I couldn't see it entirely clearly, but it was like a living creature with roots,
Yeah.
and Jesus like pulled it out from the roots, and it's like you could kind of hear like some like kind of pains of like shrieking a little bit sounds or whatever. And I was like really surprised by that, because I didn't think of it as something like that, you know. I thought of it maybe as just something that I kind of misunderstood, about our position or how the Lord feels about us. So I'm really excited about that, and how it's going to maybe impact my future, with the Lord, and how I perceive myself. And if it's okay if I share this, and I could be totally wrong about this, but
is kind of the place to be able to say that. So yeah.
Yes. But back in February, when you did your Heaven community, and you visited the floating island in the clouds.
Oh yeah.
And you kept saying, I have a feeling like this is for someone here, but nobody said that they felt like it was theirs.
Yeah.
Like I kind of feel like it's mine. My
look at you.
floating island in the clouds. And like I said, I could be totally wrong, but I'm just like, Lord, if it's not, can I have a floating island in the clouds? So that's where
it
I'm
was
at
so
with that.
good, right?
Yeah.
Like, Lord, if this isn't my home, could we work something out? I mean, what can you just throw me a bone,
Yeah, but can I tell you my favorite part about it?
Oh, please, yeah.
So a floating island in the cloud kind of seems like a lonely place, maybe, potentially, because it's kind of maybe away from where everyone else is. But my favorite part of it was when the Father said, you're all welcome here, and I love you so much, and you can come back anytime. And I was like, that sounds like home, just a place where everyone is loved and they're always welcome.
Wow. Best part. Yeah, that would be the best part. Thanks for that, Jennifer.
Yeah,
really.
Thank you.
Well, glad we solved that mystery, everyone. Don't know if that was keeping anybody up at night, but I still had that question. Lady Jessica Broussard, I see your hand up. You want to unmute yourself and jump in? Judy, do you have something too? I feel like your mic is off. Are you going to jump in here as well? Either one of you can go.
Okay, I'll go.
All right.
I had a really, really big loss. When I went through the divorce, we had a business, we had everything. I literally lost everything.
Yeah.
Kids. And so it kind of drew me, but it was such a cleansing period, because all of my stuff, I really didn't care. I lost my ex. I was like, good riddance. But my stuff, I found out that I was attached to stuff. I wanted my stuff. And I lost it all. And it's now I found him. I got so close. The intimacy was there. And he's telling me that, because I just started a new company, but now it's my company.
Yeah.
And I actually named it Aleph Tab, because I'm like, well, this is your company, because if you're the boss, then it's going to work out. So I named it after him, and everything's working out. And he's like, now I need you to dream, because everything that was stolen from you is going to be given back to you, multiplied over and over. But it's like he's telling me, you have to dream again. You have to think bigger, and just basically it was like, expect everything to just work out. Instead of carrying shoulders. And I'm sure a lot of people out there, everybody that I talk to, it's like, it's so hard to take it off of our shoulders.
Yes.
So he can fix it, and we can watch it like a movie. What he did is he kind of had me sit back, and he says, I want you to sit back and watch life like a movie, and you just sit back and you relax and you watch and see how I'm handling it. And it's almost like he wants me to be a bystander instead of trying to be busy.
Yeah.
That was really kind of, I didn't really realize that's what I was doing. And
yeah.
I literally just jumped on right at the last minute, because I had another meeting, but it is exactly what I needed to hear. So thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. I think everybody could probably on some level know what it's like to have to be told you need to dream again because something gets squashed. And it's like you lay so much stuff down, and then God's got to like tell you, hey, why don't you start thinking about abundance again? You know, and I think everybody goes through those seasons, right? And so I think we can agree in our own lives what it's like to have God have to convince you to go back to Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who is able to do above and beyond all that you could ask or think, or one version I was reading recently said, your wildest imaginations, he can outdo them all. Like he can outdo your wildest imagination. Right. That's such a good word. Hey, I'm gonna end on that note, just because it's going on 9:15, and I'm just gonna tell you, yep, Dottie, I'm glad you're here. If you got to leave, I understand. I'm just gonna give you one little update. We've been promising like a structured class. We try to do 2 or 3 of those a year. I'm a little late getting to it this year, but manuscripts are finished and proofreading is happening, and we've crested the hill. We can coast down the hill now. And so I had a party on Monday when I sent the last of the Freeing Creation book manuscript in to get its big edit. So we're going to get ready to do a class. I got to give a shout out to David and Ellen Weintraub, because David always asks me the best questions. I'm not going to tell you about our text conversation, wouldn't expose that, but I just want to say thank you, David, because in your questions about kind of this next class, it actually helped me even refine what it is that I really wanted to do. And I think I'm going to call the class Voices from the Past. And my goal is to fight what's going on in so many areas of life today, especially even in the Christian community, even in the heaven Christian community, where so many anchors are being cut, and then we end up being wayward and we stop producing good fruit. So I want to do a class called The Voices of the Past. It's really my way to pull literature from sources, especially from the last 200 or 300 years, that we just don't ever see. But I find their voices so incredibly helpful to ground me, to root me, to show me that I don't live in a bubble, that I didn't make this stuff up. I'm just riding a wave, like the crest of a wave that God has been building for centuries and for centuries. That's really, I think, my heart's desire in this class, is for me to be able to share with you literature, authors, and thinkers that have so much wisdom for us right where we are right now. And I know that y'all, there's no way y'all are on a call like this on a Thursday night, unless, like me, you don't believe God stopped talking when the New Testament canon was closed. Like, you believed he kept talking. There's no way you'd be here tonight if you didn't think that, right? So we know that God kept talking. But oftentimes the voices he was talking to and through were the ones that were running countercultural to what was going on in their day. So by just sheer providence of God, I feel like I've stumbled into unearthing some of those voices. And the writing is old, which means it's hard to read, but that's why we're going to do it together. So when I get this class together, we're going to read together, we'll discuss. If it's a big class, we'll figure out a way to make it work so that we can still have class discussion. We'll figure it out. And if it's smaller, because that's not everyone's cup of tea, that's fine too. But we're going to do it in a way where we're talking, we're going to come across a phrase, like I'll give you a teaser, when Ralph Waldo Emerson says, we are as distant from nature as we are alien from God. That's a good statement to go, is he right? Because that sounds harsh, like that'll be a statement that we could like ask, what do you think? Is he correct that we are as distant in nature as we are alien from God? I'm pretty distant from nature. Like he goes on to say, we don't know the use but of a few plants, and the bear and the tiger would kill us, and the deer and the fox would run from us. So he's making the point that we're distant from nature. And he would say, that means we are alien from God. Well, if that's true, we've got some repenting to do. Okay, if it's not true, how would we temper Emerson's words? It's things like that where we can read from these voices from the past about what we are experiencing today. That's my goal. That's where I'm going with this next class. I'm going to try to get it together now that we've crested the hill with these book projects, and we'll get it started ASAP. I want to thank you all. You're the best community. Really, you're amazing. I love you tons. Keep doing what you're doing. Get out there and have a great Passover celebration. And when you do, keep going into the heavens. Let what you are experiencing tonight really become a story. Go back to that table. Imagine yourself at the table with the Lord. See what else he wants to say. The next time we get back together, we'll have even more to share. I love y'all. Happy Passover. Go get them. You wonderful heaven people. Keep counting the trees, Caden. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.